Hello, my name is Eric Putkonen. Thank you for joining me. Today I'm going to be talking about knowing in one's being. Now, I've said that enlightenment is an insight that hits our very core, our being. It's beyond the mind, it's beyond mental. It's visceral. It's almost more kinesthetic than mental. And I want to go into this a little bit because I've had some people go, well, what does this mean exactly? But let's start by first saying there are different levels of understanding. We all know this, really. You might have heard the phrase or even used it yourself. Well, I knew it in my head, but I just didn't believe it. you know, uh, there was between the facts or the logic or whatever was presented, you kind of knew it in your head, but you couldn't believe it. Something deeper disagreed. And this points to a disparity that can happen. There's different levels of understanding. Another phrase you might have heard is, might be, there's various phrases, but there's a phrase, I knew it in my heart. And this phrase, of course, points to the idea that the heart has a certain amount of understanding and knowing. And you might even have said in the past, well, I knew I should have done this, but my heart wasn't in it. And so you didn't do it. And so mentally we knew we should have done something, but our heart wasn't in it, so we didn't do it. Or say we're trying to come to an important decision, and you're looking at all the facts and using logic, and everything says this decision should be the right decision, but something in your gut says otherwise. And so you go with your gut and choose to do something else. And so the phrase arises, I knew it in my gut. Another common phrase is, I knew it in my bones. And so there's these various levels of understanding, deeper than the mind. I mean, the mind is basically just the thought stream. And as such, it's very changeable, it's mutable, very fickle. And so, well, the mind could say, I believe anything. Let's say mentally through a spiritual experience, you've mentally grasped or come to believe that you are not the body. And somebody goes, well, I know I'm not the body. And yet the prospect of death brings on fear, this utter terror of the end of the body. And so there's this disparity because on one level, somebody can claim, I know I'm not the body, but at the same time fear the end of this body, which doesn't make sense. It's because something deeper believes you are this body and that you need this body. And so there's, this disparity that can happen. And this is where doubt, inner turmoil, disagreement arises within ourselves. And what the insight that is enlightenment does is change the understanding in our very core, in our being. Another way of saying it is it is understanding with our whole being. Because I would say that the heart, the gut, the bones go with this understanding. So this insight, this visceral insight of there is no me, there is no otherness, there is no separation, hits at such a profound level in the core that as a whole being, there's no disagreement. There's no further doubt. There's no further, disagreement internally. That is not to say the mind will catch on, because the mind really doesn't exist per se. The mind is just this stream of thought. And we don't particularly control the mind. Um, it's regulated by a lot of pattern. And so through a long time of habitual self-reflective, self-centered, thought, of course, even after enlightenment, especially initially, the thought of a me may arise. However, the me is never believed because something deeper, the heart, the bones, the gut, our very being, the core, knows that that me doesn't exist. That me isn't real. And so it never is believed. And so if due to a spiritual glimpse, a spiritual experience of some kind, there was a glimpse of no me, but later there's identification with the body mind, there's the I is believed, and further suffering is caused by this, then that really wasn't enlightenment. What I'm talking about is a much deeper, more profound, visceral insight in which the me can never be believed again. There's no need to remember that there is no me, or I'm not the body. There's no need to use affirmations or make it a habit or try to practice yourself into it. This insight hits at such a deep core, the whole being, that it is just known. No need to remember. It's always knowing there is no I. There is no otherness. It's a constant knowing in the present, in the ever now. So there's no need to remember, because remembering is a activity of the mind. It's the mind trying to convince itself. It's the mind trying to convince that which is deeper, which it really can't. Because the mind is so fickle and changeable, it has the least pull and influence of all the levels of understanding. My previous examples prove where, if your heart's not in it, even if the mind says we should do this, you don't do it. If the mind says we should do this and your gut says otherwise, you go with your gut. There is this. They have a stronger pull. The deeper understanding has a stronger pull and influence than the mind does. The mind's too fickle and changeable. We can't use the mind to get the insight. You can't logic or think your way into enlightenment. It's a deep, profound seeing that there is no me or otherness. And this spontaneously causes the understanding to arise in the now, in the deepest cores of being, that there is no me, there is no other. And it doesn't go away. So I'm hoping this explains a little bit more of what I mean by understanding and being. If you have any questions, please post below. Any comments or anything, I'd love to hear them as well. If you think somebody would enjoy the video, please feel free to share. And on October 24th, I'll be doing a online live stream non-duality Q&A on Facebook. And so if you're interested in that, please see the link below, and you can sign up for that. But until next time, thank you much.